what we're going to first do after plugging in just some easy data entry, we're going to go to the data tab up top, data analysis, and we want AnovaSingleFactor, okay, which is I believe it's our first one. Yeah, it's the first one right here. And we're going to hit OK. And it's going to ask us for an input range right there. And our data is grouped in columns, not rows, because our variable headings are at the top and not on the side here. Our label is in the first row. Yes, it is. Our alpha, what was our alpha? Let me go back to that here. Alpha. 0.01. So we want to change that to 0.01. And then output range in Excel is simply asking, where do you want me to put the data? Where do you want the data placed? So we put it, I'm going to say right here. And that's your choice, anywhere you want. You can put it in a new worksheet, a new workbook, whatever you want. So then you hit OK. And what pops out is our ANOVA table. Now, a couple of things about this table. If you notice, let me bring this back here. Right here, okay? Now let me get the finished one. Right there. You'll notice that the language here says treatments and error. Notice that? As opposed to between groups and within groups. It does mean when it says treatment, it does mean between groups. And when it says error, it does mean within groups. Okay, so keep that in mind. 890 is our SS treatments. Okay, our SST. 594 is our SSE, and then we have our total right here. 3 and 18, remember K minus 1 and N minus K. Our critical F right here, 8.99. And oh yeah, I remember now that there was an error on the slide, if I recall correctly. Yeah, the error was on the slide. I believe it had like a 3. Slide says 3.16, right? It actually should say 5.09. I believe this is another computation that they've made. So keep in mind that when you run it, ignore what they have here on the slide, and this 5.09 is correct, which is our critical value as compared to our computed value. Okay, any questions on that?
So this let us know everything we need to know, the critical, the F, the numbers of treatments. Basically, yes. We'll just be getting our answer from, if we run this function, we'll be able to get our answer, all the answers we need from this.
Yes. And unlike last week where you always didn't have the benefits of, well, I guess it could be the same. What I'm saying is, you asked a question last week if Excel could be used 100% of the time, basically, and I said no, because sometimes you won't be given a data set. Typically, when you're given multiple treatments, multiple Ks like this, you're usually given a data set, which means you can use the Excel ANOVA function. But just keep in mind that if Connect or I give you a question, and I'm only giving you, the X bars and the XGs and the XCs, you could still come out with this data, but you got to calculate it on your own.
Okay.
Okay.
You still would need to know that previous function you just did, because this might not, we may not be able to run this. So we still need to know how to come up with the answer.
Yeah, you still, because at some point you will almost always be given the data, because you have to get your your error differences, and you got to square those. So almost always, you'll be given the data if you're dealing with, a multiple mean F test because of the way stuff is calculated, the SSTs and all that. But if the question is in Connect or wherever, here's an MST, right? Here's a mean squared treatment, and here's a mean squared error. Find the F, right? You don't use Excel for that, okay? The question I just asked you was, here's an MST and here's an MSE, find the F. So here's the answer will be 899 in this case. So what I'm saying is, yes, it's important to know Excel, but it's also important to know what's going on in Excel, because a question might be, here's an MST, here's an MSE, find the F. And Excel won't help you with that. You have to know, there's no function for that. You have to know that you have to divide them to find the F. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. One thing I find in the F distribution, they don't have all the numbers. I think they skip 11. And when I was trying to find the critical, that was like a one in between number. That how would I arrive at that?
Well, that's why you use Excel to find your F. What's the question?
It was the F distribution table does not have all of the numbers. It doesn't have 11 and some other numbers. So if I had a numerator of 11, it's not there. It's not there on top.
Yes. That's just like the Z table. It's not technically complete in the book. Yeah. There's stuff missing. And so that's why you have the Excel in your back pocket, right? That's why you would use f.inv.rt to find that answer.
Rather than
the table. That's why I always say just use Excel instead of the table.
Okay.
Because there is no case where using Excel puts you at a disadvantage compared to using the table.
Okay.
When you're looking for a particular, a particular F, right, or a particular Z, that's the case. Okay. A critical F or a critical Z. When you're looking for, those critical values, using Excel 100% of the time is just fine. Okay, so just getting that number, you use Excel all day. But getting, say this number, and I don't give you, let's say, a group of data, right? I don't give you this data. Mm-hmm. Like if I didn't give you this data and I said find the F, right, and that's all I said, you couldn't find the F because you don't have the data. But if I said, here's your MST and here's your MSE, find the F, you could find the F.
Right.
Okay, so that's the difference between the computed F, okay, and the critical F. F critical, Z critical, T critical, Excel is fine 100% of the time. But your computeds, you got to know some other things.